We've been speaking about local elections. We'll get into the District 19 stuff at 10:35 or so this morning. Joining me in studio, candidate for District 2, Lubbock City Council, Jared Hall. Welcome back.
Hey, Chad. Great to be back here.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you taking some time to come in today and talk about the issues. Yesterday, you were involved in the one of the forums that happened from LISD.
Yes.
Overall, I think you did very well
Thank you.
during the forum. One of the things that stood out to me is that you had to remind folks once or twice that District 2 is just not east of I-27, because that has been the thinking for years now. It's almost like you have to deprogram people. Does it feel like that?
Yeah, and it's not just my opponents here in the race. It's also when I'm out there walking and knocking on doors, I do encounter a few people that say, am I in District 2? I says, oh, yes, with redistricting. And sometimes I say, and you've been in District 2 for even longer than the recent redistricting.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it takes you have to reprogram a lot of folks out there to look at District 2 as more than just East Lubbock. Has that been something that has been difficult to do in this race so far?
Not really. A lot of times when I'm out there walking, I am bringing a map of District 2 with me. And the other big part of it is there's just been nobody this has been Floyd Price's district, and then it was before that, it was T.J. Patterson's. And so there's really been almost no campaigning since there's really been no contested elections in District 2 for forever, really.
Right. What are the issues that voters, as you've been going through this process, I know we had you on a little bit after you first announced, but as you've been walking more blocks, talking to more people, what are the issues that are presenting themselves as the big issues in District 2?
Two things. Crime. Crime is almost always the one they always want to talk about. They always want to talk about the guy that down the street that's dealing drugs, or even just general vagrancy issues, right? And then the second one is jobs. If they stop and talk to me, they're like, well, Lubbock needs to do a better job of keeping these tech students that we're educating here in Lubbock.
How can the city council do that?
As I've always maintained throughout my campaign, if the city's doing its basic job, then it makes it attractive for businesses to live here. So if we've got our crime under control, if we're providing those streets and the basic city services, and we're not taxing left and right to pay for this, then it makes a lot more attractive to cities or companies here to move here to Lubbock.
And one of the candidates in another race for mayor, Victor Hernandez, and he's been on this for a while, even as a city councilman, said, you can't have it both ways. You can't have low taxes and make it attractive that way without having, well, as I put it, the fun stuff, without the quality of life, without the government basically funding quality of life projects that are out there. How do you get past that attitude that may be really, and I think you find it in every district that's out there, but in District 2, which has been viewed in the past, whether it's right or wrong, as more of a liberal district. Now, you have evidence that shows it's not necessarily that liberal, but I'm sure there are people out there who say, well, the government needs to fund these projects. How do you strike that balance?
Well, it's a false choice to say, hey, we can only raise money by raising taxes. And it comes from the assumption that all money is the government's money. Well, really, here in Lubbock, we get a significant amount of our revenue from sales tax. So if we have a growing, thriving city, then we have an increase in revenue. So we don't have to raise taxes if we're engaging in those policies that encourage growth.
Visiting with Jared Hall in studio. You bring up crime, and it's interesting because when I have other candidates on in this race in the different areas, crime is usually not one of the talking points. Usually it's LP&L, water, electricity, you know them. You've heard them, and that's what a lot of the candidates say are the major issues. Why do you think crime is one of the top issues for District 2.
Well, it didn't used to be until they scraped clean Tech Terrace, and they pushed a lot of those folks down towards the Lowry Field area. And Lowry Field is in my district, and that really is a hotbed for burglaries, for car thefts, for just theft, even assault, just basic crime.
Mm-hmm. And then it's right around the Lowry Field area. So what can the city council do to help the crime situation in that area? Are we talking a substation maybe right next to Lowry Field? Is that something that would help? Is that an idea?
Maybe. One thing that might be useful is to get a little more focus on code enforcement in that area. We've got a lot of slum-type housing that falls in disrepair. And I understand that poor folks need a place to live, but when you've got a place that's falling apart, you tend to attract the wrong element.
Does that require hiring more people, or just prioritizing?
Prioritizing, maybe just a kind of an intense focus for a short period. And another thing is we're looking at Lubbock from the police standpoint. As I understand it, we have over 70 unfilled officer positions, so they're understaffed in that area as well. Sometimes there's only 1 or 2 police that are able to patrol that entire area.
If Lubbock keeps growing, this ties in a little bit with annexation. You're going to have more police officers.
Right.
Is Lubbock do you think this town will ever get ahead of the curve when it comes to police officers? Because, since it almost seems like since I've been here, we've been behind the ball as far as the number of officers needed. So how do you get ahead?
We've got to focus on it. We've got to raise that issue over and over, and we've also got to do, as I understand it, a better job of perhaps recruiting, expanding our target. We have some of the more well-paid officers in the state of Texas. Problem is we are maybe not advertising that fact well enough, and we're not. Instead of us losing officers to other cities, we should be poaching their officers, I suppose.
We had a text that came in regarding the Tech Terrace comment that you had and crime. When did they, quote, scrape clean the Tech Terrace area, as you claim?
Well, I moved down here in 1999, and one of the first apartments I looked at was over there just east of Tech, and it was affectionately referred to
the
as
Overton area.
Yes, it was referred to. I did misspeak. I meant Overton. Didn't I?
Okay.
That's what I meant.
All right.
Sorry, but yeah, the Tech ghetto. That's what I was referring to. But that's the area that they kind of shifted a lot of crime out of.
Okay, yeah, that I'm glad you clarified that, because there might be some folks at Tech Terrace going, "Wait a minute, when did that happen?" I remember the Overton area, but whatever.
Tech ghetto.
Okay, gotcha. When we come back, we've got a lot more to get into. The Omni building, that is still a major topic in all of these campaigns. We also want to focus in a little bit more on what has been impacting the District 2 race. And then, of course, our poll of the day question, tornado sirens. We'll get into all of that and much more when we come back with Jared Hall, candidate for Lubbock City Council District 2, here on the Chad Hasty Show. Chad Hasty Show, News Talk 790 KFYO. Jared Hall in studio, candidate for Lubbock City Council in District 2. He was involved in the forum yesterday. Jared, one of the things that was brought up, and it was a question sort of posed as, hey, we're going to give you, $5,000?
$500,000.
$500,000, and you can do anything you want in District 2 with it. Your answer was District 2 needs a business park. So, okay, is that if someone were to give you $500,000, that's what you're going with? Is that something that District 2 needs, or does District 2 really need a business park in that area?
If we were looking at trying to create jobs, that would be an option. Of course, I should have prefaced with, well, where's this $500,000 coming from?
Yeah, I thought I can't remember who asked the question. I thought they were just going to write you a check, and that's how I kind of took it.
Yeah, so I guess if I'm not having to extract that from the taxpayers, and that's something we're looking at. We need something that kind of multiplies the job growth in the area.
and I keep hearing from everyone running in District 2, development. And I think most people, when they are bringing up development in the District 2, are talking East Lubbock. They're not talking about west of I-27. They're talking east of 27, right, when talking development. If there is this idea that District 2 has a crime problem, are you going to get that development in District 2?
No. I mean, people don't want to live where there's crime. Okay, so development always follows where people want to live. Why is West Lubbock growing? Because that's where people want to live. So so if we can't encourage people to want to live in District 2, then we can throw government money at it all day long, and it's not going to accomplish anything.
So I'm sure it's probably not a popular thing that a lot of folks in District 2, especially east of 27, may want to hear. But what is a reasonable timeline, time frame? Because I think a lot of folks with the NELCDC, with all of these ideas that have been developed over the last 10 years or so of trying to develop East Lubbock and District 2, nothing's come to fruition really. You've had a few projects, as you pointed out yesterday, a few projects that have pointed out. But what is a realistic timeline, you think, as far as getting development going in District 2?
Well, I know this is a kind of an instant gratification culture these days, and they expect something to happen overnight. But we got to remember, this is not something that happened overnight. We didn't see the population decline in East Lubbock. It just didn't happen overnight. It happened over 10, 20, 30 years. So if you wanted to be realistic, you would say, okay, we're going to put forth a 30-year plan, right? We're looking, we mentioned Overton. Mm-hmm. Okay, that project started in the late, about 2003?
Right.
And so we are in the 13th year, and it's not completed yet. It's mostly done. But that was a huge infusion of capital, manpower, resources, and all that.
Yeah.
So you're looking at a minimum of a decade-long project. We're not talking about something, we'll build something in 2-3 years, and all of a sudden it'll just sprout up like mushrooms, and everybody will want to live there. No, it's a long-term plan.
You brought up crime, jobs. What is something else that in District 2, it may not have to be something specific for District 2, but what is something else that residents are bringing up as a concern?
The patrols. I mean, like I said, they just talk about the same things over and over, and it's just not there. Well, a lot of District 2, as I've mentioned, is there west of I-27, and it's largely built out, developed. Mm-hmm. So the concerns there for those residents are the basic city services, and LP&L, property taxes. Those come up on occasion. Had a guy yesterday. He says, "Well, are you going to get my property tax reduced?" And I said, "Well, we'll keep them from raising every year. That's for sure." Yeah.
Visiting with Jared Hall. Let's talk a little bit more about police. Obviously, there is a thought process, a plan to move LPD into the current City Hall to move into the Omni building, and this is if everything goes to plan.
Right.
This is the idea. What do you think about that plan? Is it a good idea, bad idea? And I guess specifically for the police, is the current City Hall, does that, in your mind, do you think that is going to meet their needs?
I have talked to some people, and doubtful, very doubtful. We're looking at an older building. We're also looking that it doesn't have the restroom capacity. And then the next thing is City Hall is only open during, regular normal business hours, right? We're talking to converting that building into a 24/7 operation with people all day long. So that requires a lot more stress on the building's facilities. So it's not a matter of, we'll convert this office into jail cell. There's a lot of structural changes that are going to happen to convert that into police stations. So, the initial idea that, we can convert this really easy over into a police station, I'm not sold that on the idea that it's going to be as easy as they're trying to tell us.
So what is your idea as far as a new police station goes? I assume you think there needs to be one.
Well, that's the other thing is I'm not sure that they've completely sold us on the idea of the new police station. I understand the notion that a centralized police station is largely efficient, but then there's been the talk do substations.
Right.
Well, if we're doing substations, that really relieves the pressure on the main police station. Mm-hmm. So we may not need a new police station if we do substations. But of course, this has got to be driven by the coming from the police and what their needs are.
Visiting with Jared Hall yesterday, we may get back into the Omni side of things here in a little bit, but yesterday the issue of tornado sirens came up, and we're in severe weather season, so this is the time of year where this issue always gets kicked up. Yesterday in the mayoral forum, every single candidate running for mayor for tornado sirens. Now, each of them had a different way of, okay, maybe this needs to go through a bond election, or maybe we just say we don't need to issue debt. I think Dan Pope was one who went, wait a minute, if it's only going to cost $2 million, we can find $2 million in the budget cut, from things that are frivolous in the budget, and we can replace it. You were against tornado sirens yesterday, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so does that mean no to a bond election, no to finding them in the budget, and why do you think they're not needed at all?
I don't see how they're effective in this day and age. You think about, okay, so it's $2 million you're putting them in, right? But that's $2 million initial cost. That doesn't include the maintenance year after year over year over year. Second, as I mentioned, we have a lot of other technology options available today that sort of make these tornado sirens obsolete. Think about $2 million. You can go out and buy, something like 80,000 emergency radios, distribute those in the communities that
we're not going to do that,
right? There's
right?
much.
We're not going to go out. The city's not going to go out and buy $2 million worth of weather radios,
right? But when you're talking about what's the most effective and technologically capable option here, something that's much more effective, you can have a tornado siren, right? But then you've got to have complete coverage to have them be effective.
This argument has popped up regarding the cell phone argument, basically.
Right.
Everyone has a cell phone, or just about everyone has a cell phone.
Right.
I think some of your opponents were saying, well, not everybody in District 2 has a cell phone. But let's just say 90% have a cell phone, okay? Or a computer. They have access to technology. There are some who make the argument if God forbid, we're hit by a tornado,
mm-hmm.
cell phone towers become overloaded, people can't get the information they need. Or some people may not be around their phones. You might got to have a guy in a shed somewhere working where he's not around his phone. At that point, what do you say to that argument as far as, well, we need it there for backup, basically?
I understand that. So these people don't have friends and neighbors who can contact them? I mean, are they that socially isolated? Every time there's been a major storm event here in Lubbock, I've had several family and friend members who have contacted me and saying, hey, you know about this? You know what's going on? So it's the idea that the government should take care of me instead of, no, you need to rely on your family and your friends and your neighbors first.
Tell folks where they can get more information about Jared Hall.
All right, you can reach me mostly on my Facebook page. That'd be Jared B. Hall for Lubbock City Council.
All right, Jared, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.